Hey, what is going on, everybody? Boilon here, and where are we today? We're here on msf.gg. Why are we here, you might ask? Because they've actually updated the website, which shows the entire map of the Death Scourge, and it guarantees the enemies that we're going to be seeing here in the Death Scourge, and I want to go over those. They have the different difficulties, which is great, so we can take a look and see what the enemies are like on each of the nodes, and also how they change in some of the different difficulties. And we'll probably start around difficulty 5, because I think that's where the majority of players are going to be looking to get and unlock early on to that 500k range. So also keep in mind that tomorrow I'm going to be doing my Death Scourge tier list video, so watch out for that, and that's going to be my final sort of pre-prep Death Scourge video before we get started on Friday. So, if you're ready to go, let's boil this down. Okay, so we're here on. Oh, you know what? I really hate that the left side gets chopped off here a little bit, so we're gonna readjust this really quick, and we're going to squeeze that. What are we gonna do? We're gonna do. Should have done this beforehand. Okay, and then we're gonna re-stretch that back out to about here. Okay, we're gonna leave it there for just now. So this is node number 1. At difficulty 5. Why am I doing difficulty 5? Like I said before, this is where I think a lot of people who don't want to take their minion characters are going to be kind of looking at as far as getting to that 500k point range. And that's going to be like difficulty 5 with some Scourges. So, what kind of power level are we looking at? We're looking at about 50 to 55k on these characters here. Doctor Strange, Toad, Blob. I think we took a look at this in one of my previous videos initially. Maybe it was sometime last week when we actually took a look at these. And then you have Symbiote Spider-Man, Sabretooth, and Mystique. But then on wave 2, and it says when less than 2 remain. So you know that you're going to have to, when less than 2. So that's 1 character. So you're going to be able to kill 5 of these characters before that drops, which is really good. And then you have Phyla-Vell, Mordo, Mystique again, Magneto, and Juggernaut. So it's basically a ton of Brotherhood characters, but not all of them have ISOs, which is also really important to some of the Scourges that exist that reflect kind of what Scourge ISO. One of them is referencing Healer, and one of them is referencing Fortifier. Check that out in my video tomorrow when we go over the Scourge tier list, but keep in mind, there is one that says Fortifiers get on-spawn taunt, which means that Blob here in this instance will get that, even though he's probably going to get that anyways from Toad, because I'm pretty sure Toad goes first and then his ultimate triggers the taunt, if I remember Brotherhood 2.0. And so what's interesting, of course, and this was mentioned by Tana and some other content creators, that all the enemies on the minion nodes get minus 50% damage over here, but also 10% armor. So yes, they are weaker, but, you're still kind of fighting like real characters with your minions, right? So I don't think D5 is going to be that challenging, but when you go up, and we'll take a look at some of the other higher difficulties as well, I'm kind of questionable about like how high I'm going to be able to climb personally. So that's difficulty node number 5, and we're just going to go back really quick and take a look at minion node number 2 in case you haven't seen it. And this one actually seems on the surface a little bit easier because a lot of the characters are older. So you have like Rhino, Vulture, Carnage, Venom, Hand Sentry, and Swarm. With the exception of Swarm, like all of these are kind of older characters. And then wave 2 you have some X-Force and Phantom X and Magic, and then some Guardians characters and more X-Force and Moondragon. So there's a lot more characters, a lot more enemies on this second node. That's 11, 17 enemies. That's quite a bit, actually. But once again, if you click on them, they should have the same thing. Actually, not 50%. It's 40%, at least on Carnage. Maybe they vary per character. 40% damage, Sentry 40% damage. I've looked at some of the other nodes, and they actually do vary a little bit. So node 1 is 50% damage reduction. This one's only 40%. I'm not going to check every single character, but that's what it looks like. And of course, 45%. So it varies, maybe 40 to 50%. And of course, there's going to be characters here with the different ISOs. Now, I believe the Scourges call it Healer and Fortifier. I don't really see any here except for this on wave 3 with Drax, but Drax already spawned taunts anyway, so that doesn't really matter too much. So I don't know how difficult this is going to be. But it is going to stack up, right? So when you get to the higher difficulties, and I do want to kind of take a look at that before we check out the other nodes. So for example, I want to jump to difficulty 7 and sort of how that scales up a little bit. And I think that for those of us who are trying to challenge themselves a little bit more, not super hardcore, but like kind of me level, which is like 75 G14 minions, I think we're probably looking at D7, and that's where I'm going to start. And so now the enemies are jumping up to about 90k on the minion nodes. So level 76, 90k. Keep in mind, though, that of course they still have that reduction, right? So you're still looking at the 50% damage reduction and the 10% armor. So this is kind of the range where I'm hoping I can clear, but that's with my minion characters of about 100k or so. They're between 100 and 110k. And then I'm going to use a minion sack team, of course. I'm going to go into this. There's some skills in here that I really don't want to happen, and I'm going to try and get that done away with on both nodes as well. So that's my plan for these two nodes, is that I'm going to go in with a minion sack team. I got a bunch of like 50k characters. Maybe they'll do some damage. Maybe they'll just die. I don't know. I just want to clear out that sort of first wave of abilities before I go in. So that's the plan. And let's talk then from difficulty 7. Oh, did it freeze up? Sometimes this happens. I need to go back. There we go. Death difficulty 7. And let's check out nodes number 3 and 4. Now, this is really, really broad. Right, hero is super, super broad, so this shouldn't be a problem for a lot of people. There's tons of characters up for grabs, including the Eternals, and honestly, so many more, but you're probably going to base it around maybe Eternals and Kestrel and that kind of thing. You have Strife, Sabretooth, Shield Trooper, Pyro, Madeline Pryor, and Nick Fury. Keep in mind that any of the minion Scourges that you're going to be running at this time is going to impact any of the minions that we're going to be seeing on these nodes. Mr. Sinister, Deathpool, Omega Red, that's going to be a bit of a challenge, and Gambit down below here with a couple of minions as well. But even on difficulty 7, like, their ISOs are very minimal. Like, it's just like, you know, level 1, so it's nothing crazy. But again, there's a specific call out to the Fortifier 1 that gets spawned taunt. So that means Strife, for example, is going to get that. Even though he taunts pretty early on with his skill, he's going to automatically get that. And same with the Strife on this one too. So keep that in mind. And I want to take a look at the bonuses that they get on this one. And so it seems like they're getting actually a 35% bump in health and a 15% bump in damage. So that explains that, because these sections are so broad that there's going to be, you know, it's going to be a little bit harder than it claims to be. So even though you're seeing about 100k power, it's going to be that plus like 15% damage. So do keep that in mind when we're doing that as well. That is mission. Oh, sorry, did I jump ahead? Was that mission? I think I clicked on the wrong one. That was node 4. I should have clicked on node 3. Now we're going back to node 3. So this is Miss Marvel, Phantom X, Ghost, Shuri, Sunfire with possibly an ISO that's undefined, Minerva, Star-Lord, T'Challa, Yo-Yo, and then on the final wave, Silver Samurai, Squirrel Girl, Taskmaster, and Mr. Negative. Again, Silver Samurai with a Fortifier ISO down here, so he could spawn taunt as well if you're running that Scourge. Same with Phantom X. So I believe that Scourge is worth like 25 or 30 points. It's worth a fair bit, so you'll have to keep an eye on that one. And so let's check out the characters again. Let's check out Sunfire just for giggles. 60% health boost and 25% damage. So some of them vary. I guess maybe each character has a different sort of mod. That's the same. I'm not going to check all of them, but you know, it does seem that different enemies, different waves have different sort of mods. So keep in mind, now it does drop when less than 5 remains, so that's going to be a 8. So after you kill 3 of them, less than 5. So when you kill 4 of them, so when you kill half this wave. So you're going to want to make sure that you're killing the right characters, that it doesn't stack up on this second wave, and none of them, the synergy doesn't follow through. You could actually leave Yo-Yo up, because if Yo-Yo is still there when Silver Samurai drops, then her passive is going to get broken. So you could do, actually it should get, no, Phantom X is a blaster. I keep forgetting Phantom X. I'm like, is he a protector? No, he's not. No, I keep forgetting about that. So those are the first 4 nodes. Let's take a look at node number 5 with Wakandans and Bionic Avengers. We have a Strife, we have a Squirrel Girl, we have Valkyrie, Mighty Thor, Emma Frost, and Heimdall. So we have 3 hero as guardians, and then on the second wave we have a Black Order with 2 shield troopers. So this doesn't look bad at all. This looks pretty easy, to be honest. This part, I think you're going to want to get rid of Squirrel Girl and Valkyrie, and then there's going to be a little RNG here, right? Because, like, outside of war, Valkyrie has, what, a 50% chance that when the characters die, they trigger their skills, all those buffs and everything. So you're going to want to make sure that you don't trigger that. So you'll probably need to run this a little bit just to make sure that Valkyrie's dead and she can't trigger that at all. And then, of course, the Squirrel Girl doesn't heal up too much. For the rest of the... But other than that, I think Bionic Avengers... And I'm looking at this from a Bionic Avengers perspective, because realistically, that's what I have at 1 million, and I'm hoping to just mow these down with some AoE. Because at that point, like, I'm not seeing anything that's super detrimental. Even Mighty Thor's her ultimate flip isn't really a big deal for me, because I can just use Viv to flip that back. So as long as, like, Emma Frost goes down and Squirrel Girl, you know, I don't see this to be a big problem. Ebony Maw, as long as he's down before the ultimate, where the drain and the slow, because slow sucks. But other than that, like, I just don't see this node to be that big of a problem. But maybe when we get to node number 10, it'll be a little bit different. So a lot of people were concerned about the non-legendary mutant section, nodes number 6 and 7. So let's take a look at that. We have an OG Spider-Man, we have Merc Riot Guard Kingpin. Now, I'm assuming it's the Underworld version of Kingpin, but who knows? Maybe it's not. Star-Lord T'Challa, which means that if it's the Underworld version, he's going to come with a bodyguard on spawn, but I don't know. Star-Lord T'Challa, S.H.I.E.L.D. Operative, Luke Cage, S.H.I.E.L.D. Medic, and then we have Black Widow. Taskmaster kind of sucks. I'm a bit afraid of Taskmaster, especially maybe stacking up with Kingpin, assuming they have the Underworld buffs. Hulk, Merc Lieutenant, and Colleen Wing. So let's take a look at their bonuses here on this node. 100% health and 35% damage. So the damage it seems to be a pretty static increase across the board on the various nodes, but almost doubling of health. I don't know if it's just for that character or if all the characters, they seem to have that actually. So that's a little bit scary. My biggest concern here would probably be Star-Lord T'Challa and, interestingly, Kingpin. Possibly OG Spider-Man, so he's not applying the defense down on his special and things like that. Drops when less than 5 remain. There are 7 characters, so you can kill 3 of them, which again would be that Star-Lord, T'Challa, Kingpin, and Spider-Man. And then I'd probably want to directly go after Black Widow and Taskmaster, because possibly Merc Lieutenant as well. Don't want buffs, don't want blind, depending on what characters you're running. I guess if you're running like Dazzler in your team, then you could flip that, I suppose, but otherwise a bit of a pain in the ass. So that's node number 6. Let's take a look at node number 7. And again, we're talking about like 100k characters. So we have some more minions, and then we have Star-Lord, Okoye, Nakia, Cap-Sam, 2 more minions, Shuri. So right off the bat, drops when less than 4 remain, and there's 6. So I can kill 3. So I would definitely go for Nakia, Okoye, and Star-Lord, possibly Cap-Sam, if you're able to deal with him in some way that, he's before he starts taunting and all that. And if you're running that Scourge, he's going to get the spawn taunt, which is going to be a super pain in the ass. So some of these nodes might be very specific for that. But I don't want like the Wakandans or War Dogs stacking up. And then, of course, down below, we got Maria Hill and Sharon Carter. So you want Cap-Sam dead before this for sure. Otherwise, it's just a bunch of S.H.I.E.L.D. minions. So I don't think it's going to be too bad, but there's specific characters in here that you want to watch out for. Now, what kind of modifiers? There's some health modifiers. Anything else? Some slight damage modifiers. It actually seems to have gone down 10% damage. So it's not the 35% that we were seeing in the other nodes. So that's interesting. So they'll hit a little less hard than node number 6. So those are the non-legendary mutant lanes. For those running difficulty 6 and higher, doesn't seem too bad. Let's take a look at the nodes 8 and 9 of the legendary lane. And we have some Dark Hunters. We have a Gambit. I hate Gambit as an enemy, so he's going to want to go down early on. Hela and Zombie Iron Man, don't like that either, so that's going to be an issue. And of course, I see Phoenix down below here, so magic where possible. Wave 2 drops when less than 5 enemies remain, so that means we can kill 3 of them. So I'm kind of thinking like killing off Hela, Zombie Iron Man, and Gambit, and then trying to get to magic before Phoenix goes down, if that all possible. Of course, with Colossus being there, could be a bit of a pain in the ass. And then we got another Iron Man zombie. We got an undead Asgardian. So you probably want Hela down before this wave. Otherwise, it could trigger some revives on all of these characters, which is not going to be good. And should be not fun, but interesting to run because I'm curious how this is going to play out. Now, as far as their stats go, though, we're getting 150% health boost. It is the legendary lane, so they're expecting you to use a lot of your horseman characters at this point, probably, or what you have available to you, and 30% damage. Keep in mind, if you're running this at lower than D6, it's actually unspecified, so you can do whatever you want. On here, I believe it's only difficulty 6 and higher, where it is restricted to legendary characters. Node number 9, we have some Infinity Watch Darkhold characters with Deathpool. We have some War Dog characters. We have Brawn standalone, it looks like, until Abomination down here. And Spider Weaver. I hate Spider Weaver, so that's going to be a pain in the ass. What kind of stat modifiers do we have here, though? Deathpool. Again, more crazy hit points. 185% health and 50% damage. So these might hurt. 20% damage, so it varies. Spider Weaver, 130% health and 20% damage. So all of them have their stats jacked up a little bit here, and it'll be more reason why you should never be running experimental serum. That's the hit point scourges. I'll be talking about that more in my video tomorrow, but boy, is that gonna real suck. And then let's end the video off with node number 10 for the Wakandans and Bionic Avengers. So we have some Web Warrior characters. Spider-Punk is usually not that big of a deal, though, outside of raids, of course. Unless he's an enemy in raids. But outside of this, I don't think he's going to be that big of a deal. Gambit, though, bit of a pain in the ass. And, of course, you have the Spawn Taunt of Red Guardian. There's quite a few enemies. Wave number 2, we have a Rogue, Sunfire, and Miss Marvel. And then wave 3, Ghost Spider, Spider-Punk again, Squirrel Girl, and Kate Bishop. So we got some Young Avengers, we got some Web Warriors, and we got some Unlimited X-Men with Red Guardian just kind of plopped in here. So drops when less than 6 enemies remain. There is 7 of them, so you can only kill 2 of them. At this point, I would probably try and get yourself to kill Gambit, because I don't want this stacking up with Rogue or Sunfire, and I would probably choose to get rid of Echo, because I don't want her passive to really start stacking up there either with the rest of the Young Avengers that are going to come further down with Miss Marvel, and down below here with Squirrel Girl and Kate Bishop. Not really that concerned about the Web Warrior characters, though. It's mainly like when Rogue drops, you're going to want to make sure you get her ability blocked. So I'm speaking again from the Bionic Avengers perspective, with Bionic Avengers having 3 ability blocks. I don't think that Rogue is going to be a big problem to burn down. I think if you can ability block her before her turn when she drops, that shouldn't be a problem either. So that should be interesting. And of course, what are the stat modifications for this one? Very low on the damage side, but there is a fair bit of health, it would seem, on this. 100% health and 15% damage. So again, this is from the D7 perspective. I would definitely encourage you to go up onto msf.gg and check out, the difficulty that you're aiming to get to, and kind of see how the powers line up. I don't see myself going above D7 because I don't see myself getting through the minion section of like D8. But just for shits and giggles, we can take a look at difficulty 8 and take a look at the minion nodes again and see how it powers up to about 120k. That's even with the reduction in damage. I still think that's really pushing it. D6 on the other hand, of course, you can see here that the legendary lane is still there, and the minions are about 67k. Not too bad here. So I think a lot of people are going to be in this D5, D6, or D7 range. I think because you're going to be throttled by your minion characters. Because realistically, how far you're able to go on the rest of the nodes, all of this comes down to whether or not you can clear the minion nodes or not. So keep in mind that on Friday, I'm going to mention this again in my video tomorrow, that I'm going to be putting out a video ASAP. I'm going to be recording my first 2 minion nodes on Friday at 1 p.m. as soon as possible, getting that up onto YouTube, and kind of sharing with you guys my first run experience with that and how far I'm able to get with my characters. I'm hoping that I can clear difficulty 7, but we'll find out then. So that's it for this video, and until next time, stay safe and healthy. And I'll see y'all later, and good luck on the Death Scourge. Boilon signing out.